Hello, hello, hello. It is Sacred Space Sunday already.
Good morning, family.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. It's a beautiful Sunday morning. I'm not sure where you are. We're tuning in today from Laurel, Maryland, and the sun is out shining bright. They're expecting some cherry blossoms to be blossoming soon, and so I think the weather might be in the 60s today, somewhere. Something I think I heard that, and I'll tell you, this looks like life is moving forward, right? And, in the midst of it all, life is moving forward. So, welcome to Sacred Space Sunday, right? I'm Mark Christmas. It's my lovely wife, Neonu Jewell. We'll talk a little bit more further about the introductions, but this is the Niyah Center, right? And the Niyah Center is an interfaith and empowerment center which recognizes and embraces the pluralism of religious traditions, right? The pluralism of religious traditions. We look to transform society through interreligious engagement, holistic wellness, integrated life programs, and social activism. And today, I think you're going to get a bit of all of that. Good morning. We see we got some folks in the comments chatting us up. Thank you. Yes, Auntie. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Glad to see you here on Twitch bright and early. On Sacred Space Sunday in particular, we look to educate, engage, and empower one another through interactive interfaith conversations. So some folks may say, well, what is an interfaith conversation? Well, interfaith means exactly that. It goes across faiths, regardless of what your tradition is. We don't look to convince or convert. We don't look to sway or have you think one way to believe something different than what you believe. We just want to engage that, right? To draw from the insights of the sacred texts across these various traditions, the ancient wisdom, the ethical principles that light the path to individual and collective insight and action, right? Once again, going back to these integrated life programs and social activism. I would say many will say and probably agree that it is time for some social activism, all that is happening in the world. Now, for those that may be new to joining us as you're jumping in, if you're joining us on Facebook, welcome. If you switched to Twitch already, that's the place to be. Switch over to Twitch. You can have a lot of fun in Twitch land, as they call it, in Twitch streets. We've got special emotes that we have over there. These are Niyah Center emotes. If you follow us, you'll get notifications around things that are happening with our channel, the Niyah Center channel. As you know, Sacred Space Sunday is one of our programs. We also have All Verse Thursdays, which is on Thursdays at 8 p.m. But we also do different pop-ups from time to time. So you'll get notifications whenever we go live and have a program. We can do things unadulterated on Twitch that we can't do on Facebook, like play music, right? That gets kicked off of YouTube or blocked.
Unadulterated, that sounds so like provocative. We really just mean that we can play music without the copyright police shutting us down and saying that we can't share the content. That's really it.
What's wrong with provocative? Provocative is good, right?
It is good.
Provocative means bringing forth thought, right?
Provoking thought, right? Yes.
So, So if you haven't followed us on Twitch, but if you're on Facebook, and you're looking at us through the Niyah Center, or if you're looking at us through one of our pages, Neonu's page or my page or Allverse, share it. Just share the video so others can take part. Don't start a watch party, but just share
the love. Share the love.
Because we want to spread the message. And today we've got a really, really special show. You may have seen the title and some of the advertisement. Am I my sibling's keeper? Grand Rising, or yes, Grand Rising. Am I my sibling's keeper? I didn't realize that was a tongue twister when you wrote that. Am I my sibling's keeper? And I certainly have a thought about it, and we're going to share some insight around that and just what we think about it, and let you come to your own decision on whether you're your sibling's keeper or not. And really, what does that mean in context? So, we talked about the chat. It's active places. You see folks are already in the chat. Whether this is your first time here or you've been here many times, we welcome you. We welcome you. We love you to be active. That's how we feel your energy. That's how we know if something landed with you, right? That's how you can say hello. The hearts. It's a great day for love, right? It's a great day for love. Spring is in the air. I think actually today the first day of spring.
I'm not sure. Tell us in the
Early?
chat. Our chat folks know. I don't
Yeah.
know if today's the first official. I do know that the last couple of days that I have been noticing as I wake up, I hear the birds chirping outside. So that's a beautiful thing. Good morning, I
Yeah.
love Supreme. Good
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
And
And
I
the
remember.
pollen is definitely in the air, as you know, as my allergies can attest to. And so I acknowledge that my eyes are teary a little bit and a little bit congested. So if you hear that, that's it's the allergies that are working with us. And so I think the 21st for some reason stands out to me as the first day of spring, but I may not be right about that. Right, I may not be right about that. But Nate, so much has happened. I know we got some announcements coming. You want to talk about the birthdays? Good morning, Latanya. Good to see you. Great to see you. Spring began yesterday. Okay, sounds good.
See, I knew the
Yesterday.
family knew. I knew the family knew. Yeah, and so I just want to finish my thought. What I was saying is that I've the last couple of mornings that when I wake up, I hear the birds chirping outside. Couple of things with that. One, I love that I live in a place that I hear the birds chirping outside. Some we lived in the city for a long time, and there were other sounds that you heard first thing in the morning, like 3, 4 o'clock first thing in the morning outside sounds that you didn't really want to hear. So anyway, waking up to birds chirping is a wonderful sound to wake up to. The other thing about that is I think one of my Buddhist teachers said was that it speaks to when you wake up in presence, right? When you wake up first thing in the morning, what are those first couple of thoughts that go through your mind? Do you wake up with a mind of presence such that you would hear the birds chirping? Or as soon as you wake up, does the mind start racing about what I got to do, where I got to go, who I'm mad at, what happened yesterday? So I have 2 reasons to be grateful when, well, more than 2, but at least those 2 reasons to be grateful when I wake up in the morning and hear the birds chirping. So something to think about when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah. Well, you know, Nay, I got a notification today on Twitch that says this is my 6-month anniversary for subbing on Twitch. And so, for those who don't know, on Twitch, good morning, Dana. Good to see you, homegirl. Um, um, you can follow, which is basically, like, you follow something or, you subscribe to it on YouTube. The difference is when you sub on Twitch, sub is actually an active where there's a fee you pay. It allows the commercials to go away and different things like that. It also is a revenue sharing mechanism, right? So it helps support the Niyah Center and the organization and different things that we're doing as an organization, whether it be equipment, right? Microphones, cameras, things of that nature, or other things that we'll do once it really is safe to go out and be in person, right? We'll look to bring the Niyah Center out to the public in some different forms and fashion, in addition to the virtual world. But what you can also do is you can gift subs to other people. You can not only just sub for yourself, so to other people. And that's really when we first got on Twitch, that's how I started learning. Like I think I would listen to Vince Adams' channel, my man DJ Franzen, who's over 300 nights. He's going for 365 nights in a row on Twitch. And they would talk to us just like we're doing back and forth right here. But they would subscribe and then they would gift sub to me. And so people in the community would gift sub to others that would learn. And that kind of increased, I think that not increase the loyalty, but increase your willingness to let me go back and check it out and let me get into this, right? And start to have some of the fun that you can do on Twitch. And so I just say all that to say that you hear us talking about Twitch all the time because it's growing. It's growing, and it's growing not only in terms of our channel, but it's growing in terms of other channels, other programs that they're bringing forth. I think they had a phenomenal community discussion on Twitch a couple of weeks back. And so it's a place, right, where you can do a little bit, depending on what you're into, you probably can find something, whether it be from gaming to talk shows to music, really any kind of music that you like, you can find it on Twitch. And so it's a fun place. And for those that haven't switched to Twitch, we're always going to encourage you to switch to Twitch. You see it in our banner, switch to Twitch. Go ahead, Nay.
And as you were talking, I thought about we were kind of late to the party. Some of you probably saw it a long time ago, but we recently watched The Social Dilemma. And if you haven't watched that program, then I absolutely recommend it. because it'll bring you very present to social media, how it works and the role it's playing in your life. Now I know, and good morning, Cheryl DC Joy. Cheryl DC Joy is one of the few people I know who really does not connect via social media. And I'm sure if she watches The Social Dilemma, she was waving her finger saying, I told you so. This is why I'm not on, right? What are you looking at, Mark? Because you're just looking
I'm
down and
trying to do
looking
some
down for like
subs, trying to
5
get some
minutes.
subs like I was talking
Okay,
about.
well, let the people know why you're not present to the channel. They don't know. All they do is know is they see in your forehead.
Oh my goodness. All right.
A Love Supreme,
We'll have to
absolutely, amazing movie. So I want to say, since you talked about Twitch, because I'm like, oh, people like you over here promoting social media. One good thing I will say that's different about Twitch is it's not a timeline situation like Facebook and Instagram that sucks you in to this vortex of scrolling, right? So yes, could that happen to you on Twitch if you're like going through and browsing and seeing who are all the wonderful DJs, all the wonderful talk shows, the artists or whatever? Certainly, but certainly not in the same way. It is more of a going to a museum, seeing which exhibit is the one that piques your particular interest, and then spending a long time in that particular exhibit is how I would describe that better. So, I know the exhibits that I like to watch, the channels I like to watch, the musicians I like to watch, and I follow those, and I pretty much just get alerted when they come on, and I really don't go anyplace else. I don't really go to other parts of the museum. I just stick with the exhibits I like. Right. So, I do want to put that in, that it's social media, but that's more directed by you and less them coming at you.
Yeah,
for now, anyway.
Social Dilemma was a really interesting movie. For those that haven't seen, I definitely recommend it. Whether you agree with it or not, I think it's an interesting perspective. And I did notice that my phone, because I really, the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I really haven't been on social media as much, just for some other things that have been happening. And I'm getting these notifications that I hadn't gotten in a while, right? So I said, man, that stuff is for real. I wonder if there's 3 people in the room working on my account. So anyway,
yeah, I got a notice this morning that because I turn on my, what is it, stream time, or what do they call it, whatever, on Apple. You can track how much time you're on screen time, and so my screen time was down 18% this week. And for a moment, I was like, yay, wow, I did good. Then it said, but an average of 5 hours a day. I was like, 5 hours a day? But that's that email. Because I do spend a lot of time on email. Okay, we've got another recommendation here.
Yeah, I put it up for a second.
Oh, okay. Bake Famous.
Bake Famous.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I'm not familiar with that one. We have to check that one out.
Hey, they probably talk about that whole FOMO, acronym, fear of missing out. The fear of missing out. Yeah. Well, don't miss out on Sacred Space Sunday. So we can't leave social media totally, because then how will we remind you that it's Sacred Space Sunday? And if we don't remind you, you guys might not show up. So we can't quit it. We can't quit social media. We just have to be more intentional and thoughtful about how we consume and how we purvey.
Yeah, but that being said, also it's March, so we want to recognize any March birthdays. Just please put the names in the chat. I've got one. My daughter will be 20 years old on March 26th. I'll put her name in the chat. Any other March birthdays we want to acknowledge them?
Please put them in the chat.
Please put them in the chat. Please put them in the chat. Any March birthdays, and then because it'll be 2 more weeks, and by the next time we come back, it'll be April. Right? The next time we'll come back, it will be April. Actually, will it be Easter Sunday?
Yes, for those who are Christian.
Yeah. Well, there's some other places that celebrate Easter. They call it something different though. Passover weekend, right? It'll be Resurrection Sunday. I think the Greek Orthodox call it Easter, but they call it Greek Easter. Whatever, it'll be the last day of Lent is coming up, all of those kind of things, right? Hello, lovely humans. Thank you. I don't know how to pronounce that name.
Upaidi, hi,
Hey. Oh, Latanya, March 5th, March 1st became 50. Awesome. Happy birthday, Latanya. We love it. We love it. It's your birthday. Absolutely. It's your birthday. Send some hearts out in the chat. Send some hearts in the chat for all the March
Yeah.
birthdays. Hearts in the chat for all the March birthdays. Some hearts in the chat. So look, we are excited because when you aren't on the weekly with us on every other week on Sacred Space Sunday, you've got Allverse on Facebook, right? You got Allverse, which is a space that can keep you uplifted in the mean and in between, in the mean and in between. Yes, and it's curated by Angela Skeet Davis, who just timely chimed in. Happy Sunday, right? Happy Sunday. She's the curator of Allverse. She really does a phenomenal job of sharing all sorts of inspiring and wonderful things. I believe she has a birthday coming up too, right? I believe she
Yes,
has a birthday.
yes,
Right. Thank you, Noreen, putting her name in the chat. Thank you for putting her
yes.
name in the
Angela
chat.
Skeet Davis is having a birthday coming up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, those March babies are no joke. Those March babies are they're so loving, right? They're so loving. That's one thing I would say about the March. Every March baby I know is just full of love. It doesn't get much better than the March baby. It doesn't get much better than the March baby. Unless you're a February baby. Anyway, let me go
All
ahead and
birthdays are good days.
right. Hey, for those that want to come on live, like we have space, right? I know, when we changed the format, we went to Twitch and we started doing the
As
multicast.
they say on the streets, don't be scared. Come on in
Yeah,
here. Come on.
we have
Upaidi, we need
space.
you to come on in here and share
Yeah.
your wisdom and thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's easy to do it, right? It's easy to do it. Just contact us, and we'll put up in a second. You can there it is. Contact us at our Niyah Center at Gmail, and we'll look to make space to have you on screen as well as part of our in studio family for that Sunday. And so we'd love to. We
And it
want to.
doesn't mean you have to lead the broadcast. It just means after we've had our talk and we come to the end, if you've got a comment that you can share it. We certainly don't have any monopoly on wisdom, and we may not today on that given day have the best insights.
Right.
And so know that if you are called to come, it is for a reason, and that you have something to share that we all get to hear. So we welcome you.
Right. And those, for those that are on Facebook, at the end of the broadcast, we'll switch over to Twitch and do our after space. We'll play some music, unadulterated. I like that word for the day, Nate. Unadulterated, uninterrupted, uninhibited. Right. So Ariel is coming in April, right? She's right there at the beginning of April. As well, and so we're excited about that. Excited about that. Let me see what else do we have going on. Reiki services for those who don't know what Reiki is. Reiki just means universal energy. Ray means universal, supernatural. Ki means energy, and it's a word that came around in about 1932. But before that, they call it, laying the hands, helping people to heal. It's been called prani, it's chi, Holy Spirit. It's been called so many things over the ages. It's really a form of connecting to this supernatural energy that created us to already heal ourselves, and creating this, we connect to that way and such that whatever is blocking us can be removed. And so that looks like super relaxation, right? Reductions of stress, physical, mental, emotional stresses that cause dis-ease and discomfort. And so it's really a non-invasive way and very powerful way to support yourself in healing. If you haven't experienced it, we'd love to tell you more about it. You can just contact me. You can send us an email to at Niyah Center at Gmail if you're interested in learning more about it, or an appointment as well, right? What else? What else do we have here? Because I think we already mentioned, talked about following and supporting. So it's a lot that's happened since the last time we came together on Sacred Space Sunday night. Yeah, a lot has happened. I know. So I'm grateful. We hear on the news all about all the vaccines and all the stuff that's coming available, and Members of my family are continuing to get the vaccine. My daughter got a vaccine. I got my second dose. Neonu got her first dose. My mother's gotten her second doses. And I know I've heard people, even some of my family members like, "Hey, you got the vaccine, cuz don't do that." And what I will say is, what I'm excited about is that it's creating a possibility for me to get together with those people, right, in a way that I haven't in over a year and a half. And so for me, like the 100 million other things that we just don't know just don't outweigh the fact that I haven't seen my mom in more than a year and a half now, right? I was able to see my daughter for about maybe about 15 minutes last week, and that was exciting, right? And I was like, man, we can actually like do this for real, like we spend time without worrying, like, did I compromise it because he has asthma, and now she had to worry about like something really bad happening to her in terms of like death. And so I'm excited, right? And I'm excited. I'm grateful that I was able to be in the number as an educator. I didn't know why God would have me doing this teaching that I've been doing all of this year, but it came clear. It was one that the kids have poured into me, and they do it, unselfishly. Nay, that's the one thing I love about being in the classroom. It opens your eyes to so much of what the needs are in our educational system. And please keep our kids, our educators in your prayers. There's so many needs that exist. And so for those that go in and are giving whatever they can in whatever situation we can, my heart and thoughts go out to them, especially the CDC's changing. I mean, CDC, they just changed the guidelines on us again, right? Went from 6 feet to 3 feet. And so in a minute, it'll be no feet, right? It'll be no feet. And we know that capitalism is driving a lot of what's behind all of this. And so I still encourage people to be safe. I went to pick up some food the other day. I looked in the restaurant through the window, man, the restaurant was packed, right? And so I know people are out doing their thing. And for me, it makes me feel a little apprehensive, but I do feel better. There you go, Tanya. You got your second dose last month, right? Right.
Yeah, and Latanya is speaking to the point. Right. This is my big point on the vaccine hesitation, where people are like, it's a conspiracy. Did they put a tracking device in your body? Are we gonna find out 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that it's gonna do something that hurts us? What we know today is that COVID kills. We have over 500,000 people who speak that testimony that COVID kills. Now, for those who are hesitant, I'm assuming you take no other pharmaceutical medicine. None. No pharmaceutical medicine, over the counter or by prescription, because you've seen the commercials and those come with side effects. They tell you right up front. They have a 4 or 5 page piece of paper that'll tell you, and you take it anyway, right? So
right.
Like Latanya said, what we know is that COVID kills. Right.
Absolutely.
So do yourself a favor and do the world a favor in oneness, and go get your shot as soon as possible.
Yeah. And so that being said, then we saw the tragedy in Atlanta, the shooting spree, the unfortunate, just kind of looking to hide the reality of hate, right? And what is the impact that has been having. I know I'm, for myself, in terms of as the news has started to cover more of what's happening with these hate crimes in the Asian community since Corona, not only are businesses suffering, right? Because, folks have been, saying, I mean, I don't know about you, but I live in an area where Chinese food, prior to Corona, those places always had business in them, right? Now, of all the restaurants that have got business and stuff in them, the Chinese places, the restaurants, are the ones that don't, right? And so clearly you can see that people are starting to have been not supporting. but just the physical assaults that are taking place on the people has really just broken my heart. And so many times, and when you see it on the news, it's broken my heart in so many ways. And so, those things. I saw uh, the legislation that they're passing around, the voting rights. I think I heard over 252 pieces of legislation have been brought forth to suppress uh, for voter suppression. 252 pieces of legislation. So a lot's happening, Nate. A lot is happening, right? And so, we're not going. I'm not the one leading the talk today, but I definitely thought that those things are worth mentioning. And for those that are impacted, to let you know that we feel for you, we care, right? And that we're with you, right? And we talked about, social activism is one of the things the Niyah Center is about. And so we're going to use our voice. We want to share and use your voice as well to support change in the way that we can support it.
Great, great. So with that, I think it's a good opportunity for us to just take a moment to transition and to just create a space wherever you are in the world, to just become present as we move into a conversation that is speaking to the tragedies that occurred in Atlanta this week, and just all of the hurt and pain and that are suffered by so many all across this planet. All of the tragedies in India and the ethnic killings that are happening there, the religious killings that are happening there, the things that are happening in Myanmar, and really just all over this planet where peoples and populations are being oppressed and marginalized and subjugated and frankly killed. So in that space, we look to rise up a vibration of oneness, love, and joy. And so I invite you to take a posture of presence in whatever way that works for you, which may unfold as eyes closed, which may unfold as eyes open and just looking down over the tip of your nose. And I invite you to take 2 to 3 cleansing deep breaths to just become aware of your breath. And I invite you to continue to breathe at your own pace with an awareness of the breath, watching the breath internally, feeling the breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Because in this moment of presence, we just give thanks for this space, this sacred space, this Sunday, this day that we are all here together to share, to uplift, to collaborate in community in the spirit of love. And in the midst of the suffering, to choose joy. Joy because we know that we are here with a purpose and with a plan and with the opportunity to choose our experience. The opportunity to take time as we're taking it right now to pause, to breathe, to remember. Remember our true nature. Remember that within us that connects us to every other being on this planet. That energy that is our essence, that has no boundaries, that knows no singular identity, that is represented by all identities. Our essence, our energy, our God self. And as I use the word God, I am speaking of the love, intelligence, energy, vibration, the universal connection that is beyond any names or words. I call it God because I'm human and I need to label. But in this moment, I know that which I know is infinitesimal in comparison with the infinite. And that is why we gather, to learn and grow and connect together. So I send blessings to all who hear my voice now or in the future. And I am grateful that I am blessed by all of you. We submit this to the action of the law, knowing it is already done, saying amen, ashe, and namaste. So the talk today, am I my sibling's keeper? I thought long and hard about this. And it was interesting that a story came to mind. And you know, here on Sacred Space Sunday at Niyah Center, we draw upon ancient wisdom teachings, texts that cross many faiths and traditions and are not limited to what we would call religion or faith tradition. But today I was called to a particular story, and I use my words intentionally, a particular story from the Hebrew Bible, specifically from Genesis 4, using the New Revised Standard Version. And so I'd like to read this story to you. I think many of you are aware of it, but you may not have read this story recently. Now the man knew his wife, Eve, which means living, so named because she was the mother of all living. And she conceived and bore Cain. I have produced a man with the help of the Lord. Next, she bore his brother, Abel. Now, Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a tiller of the ground. In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground, and Abel, for his part, brought of the firstlings of his flock, their fat portions. And the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering, he had no regard. So Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. The Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is lurking at the door." Sin meaning missing the mark. "Its desire is for you, but you must master it." Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let us go out to the field." And when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" He said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" So I believe many of you have heard that story, or at least are aware vaguely of the story of Cain and Abel. And this term, "am I my brother's keeper," is a term that is out there in common discourse. And I certainly thought about that, because in my view, this passage is very informative, and maybe so, but maybe not in the way that you have thought about it previously. Again, a story often metaphorically has messages, right? Deeper than the words just read literally, right? So it says here that Abel was a keeper of sheep. So keep that in mind as we talk today. Cain was a tiller of the ground. And some might have read this and said, well, why did God treat Abel better than Cain? They both brought something, so why was bringing fruit better than not as good as bringing flock? Well, I think it's in reading it closer, right? In the course of time, Cain brought to the Lord an offering of fruit of the ground. So again, if you're focusing on, well, what's the matter with fruit? Why is that bad? I think that's the wrong part of the passage to highlight. It says, in the course of time, Cain brought. Versus for Abel, for his part brought of the firstlings of his flock. So Abel brought the firstlings, like at the first opportunity. The first opportunity Abel did in recognition, knowing its source. Came in the course of time. So it wasn't about whose gifts were better. It was the intention and the mindset of the person that brought them that was problematic. This is why the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but for Cain and his offering, he had no regard. Understanding the context. We're talking about God, right? Omniscient, knows all things, so knows the heart and the mind and the spirit that brings it, the intention behind it, right? Which is why God says to Cain, why are you angry? Like, you knew this wasn't top of mind. You knew, you were like waiting around and was like, oh, I guess if Abel about to bring something, I need to bring something too, right? Like, so why are you mad at me? Because I see through the game. You can't game play me. I created you. Like, hello. If you do well, will you not be accepted? Change your thoughts. Make a different choice. And it'll be all good. But if you don't, then that's on you. This is what it is for you to master. Cain chose not to hear that. Cain chose to decide that his thoughts were right and righteous. Abel was the problem. Abel was taking away from him his shine. Abel stole his regard. So Abel had to die. Cain today is Robert Aaron Long. He was said to have been known to carry a Bible, be a member of a Christian Student Club, member of a Baptist church. It is interesting that Robert Aaron Long, murderer, was thrown out of his parents' house the night before his murder spree. Rebuked. And who had to pay? Not Robert. He found his Abels. Women, primarily women, mothers, wives, who woke up and went to work in a service role. And Robert said, they are taking my reward, my regard. It's them. They are the cause of me not being all I can be. In this moment, I would like to say the names of those killed this week. And their families would forgive me for my mispronunciation and know that my heart sees their spirits. Zhao Jitan, known as Emily, daughter Jamie Webb, was 29. Thursday would have been her 50th birthday. Delana Yang, 33, mother of 2, on a spa day with her newlywed husband who escaped. She did not. Paul Andre Mitchells, he was 54, recently hired as a handyman after being out of work for a while. He had finally gotten a job that he was enjoying. Dao Yu Feng, 44, recently hired at the spa. Yang Anju, 63, a mother recently returned to work after being laid off during COVID. They had just come back to work recently. Anyone who's been laid off knows how important that was. Hyundai Young Grant, 51, single mother with 2 children. Soon Chung Park, 74, who was still working because she enjoyed it, not because she had to, because she did it, not for financial reasons, because she enjoyed coming to work. And she had been planning to move back to New York, where her family lived, whom she had not seen in the last year due to COVID, had planned to move back with them in June, waiting for her lease to end in Atlanta. And Soon Cha Kim, 69, a grandmother. Now, I could share my reactions and feelings about this heinous act, but I believe that it is more appropriate to hear from our Asian American Pacific Islander siblings. So in the moment, I'm going to share a few words, and I pray that you can connect to the voices, because in our oneness, another's pain is our own. To the extent that we identify with the Abel in the story, who is simply just trying to do right, who gets smacked down by those who see themselves as better, supreme, who would look to oppress and not deal with their inner demons and their inner imaginations and their mistaken biases, and instead point to you as less than. Easier for them than to resolve that which is empty inside. So you will hear from Dr. Soo-young Pak, who's the Senior Director and Associate Professor of Integrative and Field-Based Education at Union Theological Seminary, Dr. John Thatamanil, also Associate Professor of Theology of World Religions, and Dr. Patrick Chang. So give me a moment to bring those broadcasts to you.
I am grateful that we're able to gather, to be together.
We need to do a reshare. Just a second. Technology. Gotta love it. All right.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take me a second to set it back up.
If you want to put hearts in the chats as you hear or as you're listening, or whatever way that just resonates with you, please feel free to do so. Please feel free to do so. Thank you, moderators.
All right. Sorry for the delay, folks. Thanks for being with me.
To be together, to mourn together. Aftermath of this horrific shooting in Atlanta area. So thank you for being a witness together in this space. Last night I attended the visual organized by the Red Canary Song. This is an organization that advocates for migrant workers, massage workers, and sex workers. I was profoundly moved by their witness. And early this morning, and I mean really early, like 3 in the morning, I could not sleep with their words weighing on my mind. So I got up and wrote this piece that I want to share with you today. Orientalized, ornamentalized, fetishized, hypersexualized bodies. Yellow peril, dragon lady, model minority, tiger mom, perpetual strangers, racist and sexist tropes. Chink, gook, Jap, slanty eyes, coolie, dirty, diseased. You are statistically insignificant. You don't have the voting power. Successful model minorities, you can take care of yourselves. Lynchings, exclusions, internment, scapegoating. Remember Vincent Chin? Remember post 9/11? Kung flu, China virus. We are invisible except when we are hyper visible. Centuries of imperialist, white supremacist designs on Asia as loaded guns, looking down the barrel to target Asian American bodies, Asian American elderly bodies, Asian American women's bodies. Militarization that devours Asian women's bodies as collateral and necessary damage, sacrificed at the altar of global economy. Today we mourn, we rage, we remember. And today we say no to anti-Asian violence, anti-Black violence, Islamophobia, settler colonialism. We say no to self-hatred turned and directly outward to threaten, maim, and kill. Today, we recommit. So let us say their names. Let us enflesh them here. Let us honor their lives. On that day, Tuesday, March 16th, 2021. Xiao Jie Tan. Yesterday, she would have been 50 years old. Also known as Emily by her friends and family, devoted mother. Owner of Young's Asian Massage, where the first atrocity happened. Delana Ashley Young, age 33. Mother of 2 children, one only a year old. Recently married. Was celebrating massage time with her beloved husband. He survived. She was killed. Dao Yu Feng, age 44, worked at Young's Asian Massage. Paul Andre Mitchells, age 54, lived in Tucker. Elcias R. Hernandez Ortiz, age 30. He is in critical condition. Sun Si Park, age 74, worked at the Gold Spa. Hyunjung Park Grant, age 51, worked at the Gold Spa. Sun Ja Kim, age 69, worked at the Gold Spa. Young E Ye, age 63, worked at the Gold Spa. And I want to add here, Vicha Ratanapakdi, age 84, killed on January 28th in San Francisco while visiting his daughter from Thailand, and countless others. We've been yelled at, spat on, punched, and slashed in the face with a box cutter, stabbed, kicked, pummeled. and murdered. We gather today to hold our bodies and souls together. We gather today to hold our loved ones even closer. During this time of grief and disorientation, I find solace in the text of disorientation. And I read from the Thunder Perfect Mind. I am the first and the last. I am she who is honored and she who is mocked. I am the whore and the holy woman. I am the wife and the virgin. I am the mother and the daughter. I am the sterile woman who has many children. I am humiliation and pride. I am without shame. I am ashamed. Do not be arrogant to me when I am thrown to the ground. Do not laugh at me in the lowest places. Do not throw me down among those slaughtered viciously. I am she who exists in all fears and in trembling boldness. I am the silence never found. I am the voice with countless sounds and 1,000 guises of the word. I am the speaking of my name. I am the speaking of my name. I am the speaking of my name.
So Dr. Pak is one of my professors, one of my mentors. I've worked with her for the 3 years I've been at Union. So I know her voice. And as a speaker, I can hear the pain behind that voice. Thank you, Dr. Pak, for sharing. And so I want to share the voice of one of my other professors and mentors and supporters, Dr. John Tatanamil, who also has given us much to think about.
I join you all in this moment of loss and grief and hurt, with prayers for a world in which such violence will cease. The Creator loves and delights in exuberant diversity. If you have any doubts, open your window and gaze out at the city streets or even a meadow, and you will encounter more diversity than your mind can encompass in an entire life. You will see endless diversities in blades of grass, in leaves, in the shape and curve of tree branches. And if you can see only human faces, there too you will only see diversity, each face utterly singular, even those of so-called identical twins. 7 billion of us, each a singular and unique creation, each precious, each priceless, each and everyone cherished and loved into being by love itself. God loves diversity. But some among us who are themselves precious creations of the divine, these draw an arbitrary circle between us and them, between inside and out. that act of imagining an us that has nothing to do with and is threatened by some alien them. Conceptual violence precedes and prepares the ground for every act of actual violence. The natural range and extension of the heart's capacity to love has to be compromised first. You have to be tutored to hate. Hate is unnatural for creatures made in the image of divine love. When we are subjected to hatred and violence, there is a great and horrible danger that we may come to doubt our self-worth, our own preciousness. My dear siblings, I pray that not a one of us will surrender to this temptation. You, I, each and every one of us is an embodiment of the beloved's creative passion for diversity. The glory of God is every creature fully alive. And the only way to be fully alive is to live into our precious and unrepeatable singularity. Only a world in which we are safe to be just exactly who we are called to be is a world worthy of God's love. And our first and most basic calling, especially in times such as this, is to do nothing other than to take joy and delight in our own unique, precious selves, in our own distinctive and priceless embodiment. Let us labor and love to build a world in which each of us can be fully alive. The glory of God in this time is every creature fully alive.
As I just pause to take that in, and I'm interested in the thoughts, the reactions that you have as we hear from two of our siblings. Because if you believe, as I believe, that I am, you are, we are our siblings' keepers, then what does it mean to be our siblings' keepers? Let's look at the word keep. As I read from Merriam-Webster. Keep, maintenance, one that keeps or protects, like a fortress, like a castle, one whose job is to keep or to tend. A keeper, one who watches, guards, takes care of, protects. The story of Cain and Abel tells us what happens when we do not watch over, guard, take care of, or protect our siblings. What happens when we see our siblings as separate from ourselves, as others, as the takers of what's ours? I submit that knowing what it means to be our siblings' keepers begins with choosing not to be Abel. Not to be Cain. Choosing to be Abel. Choosing to be a keeper of the sheep. Abel was a keeper of the sheep, one who watches, guards, takes care of, protects one's sheep. So the question then is, who are the sheep? Dr. T in his comments remarked, God loves diversity. Who are our flock? Who do you consider your flock? All sheep, regardless of geographic origin, regardless of the sheep's wool's color, regardless of whether the sheep were born on your ranch. If you are a keeper of the sheep, a shepherd, who is your flock? If I am able and I am a keeper of the sheep, my siblings keeper, then I am responsible for, responsive to all sheep. Beyond being an ally or a partner, I am my siblings keeper. Now let's be clear that being a keeper does not mean that I need to step in for the sheep because they lack agency. Because my siblings do not lack agency. As a shepherd keeper, I am not their savior. In being a shepherd and my siblings keeper, it is that I recognize our oneness, our interdependence. I recognize that we are all shepherds, keepers for one another. So then what is the call to action? As a keeper of the sheep, in choosing to be the shepherd and not the slayer. Being my siblings' keeper means choosing to be Abel, not Cain. So this may look like you refraining from making any identity-based comments or jokes. Just in fun. I didn't mean anything by it. It means something. It's not fun. Reinforcing stereotypes. Interrupting those around you who may do it. Speaking up. Noting inaccurate statements. And letting people know that ethically, morally, you will not participate in those conversations. You will not give it space. You cannot be present to that thinking. Because biased thinking can and does lead to death and destruction. Continue to build relationships across differences, authentic relationships across differences. Expand your notion of your sheep in your flock. And let those in your network, whenever impacted by white supremacy, by jealousy, by hate, let them know that you see them and you stand with them, that you are in solidarity with them. Through oneness and interdependence, their hurt is your hurt. So the insight plus application equals results. The application for this insight this week of choosing to be my siblings' keeper is that I would ask that each of you, each of us, that we do one thing this week in active support of our Asian American siblings. That can look so many different ways. I will not be prescriptive. Let your heart lead you. Let that inner vibrational, energetic presence that I call God, that goes by so many names, lead you, direct you, and have you be in action and support. Why? Because we choose to be able. Because we are able, because we are our siblings' keepers. Because we are able. We are able.
Wow. Uh, I am. I am able, and I am able to give my best, right, and able to do what's right because you know it's right. Thank you for that talk. I know people. There's a little bit of a delay, so we definitely want to hear from folks. We heard a couple of comments earlier when you asked my brother's keeper, or C Sharp, said this was a great philosophical question. So I know we shared a lot, right? Yes, we are, Noreen. Yes, we are. Thank you. Yes, we are. We shared a lot. The excerpts from the Vigil, the Union Theological Seminary with Dr. Pock and Dr. T. Certainly, maybe you've heard something, whether it was there, something you heard in terms of the description of one of the unfortunate victims and who they were, and saying their name in that exercise, or was something in the scripture, and or the ancient text that was shared in the interpretation of that, or the call to action. I'd love to hear some comments from or read some comments out loud from the chat from those on. We've got a significant number of viewers on, and I know you may be being with this, but are you glad you saw the vigil? Did you know those? Did you know those things? Does it have you feel different about the situation? I'll say for me, I watched it with you, Neonu, as you know, and a couple of days before that, there was an interview on CNBC by a young lady who's the CEO of a nonprofit organization called Rise. She's an Asian American young lady, and she was talking about allies and what it means to be an ally. And she shared something which I thought was profound because I can relate to somebody I know going through something that I haven't personally went through, but I could just imagine how hard it is to go through it. For example, in this case, whether it be the loss of a parent. Fortunately, God has my parents are still with me in physical form, so I've never lost a parent, right? Or to have buried a child, right? Those are things you think that may happen, that have certainly happened to folks, and I just find myself not having words to say, and so she shared something. She was put in relation to this situation. Something that's terrible has been happening to an Asian person here in America, whether they've been, harmed, or they've been violated physically, mentally, emotionally, in a number of ways which was described. She said simply to call to say something like this: I know I can't imagine what you're going through. I know I don't know what it feels like to experience what you're experiencing. And I don't know how to support you. And I'm here to support you. Just let me know how. I was thinking of you, and I'm here for you. And I thought that was really just profound, because those are the words I've been looking for so many instances. And this was just another reminder of, I don't have to have the words to say that's going to make it be all right. That's not even what it's the fact that I'm thinking of them and I'm here to support them. And if they could help me figure it out, or if not, if they just to know that I'm thinking about them, that actually is being my brother's keeper.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you brought another point when we talked about this this past summer, when the attention was paid to something that's been happening in that African and Black community for so long in terms of police violence, undue police violence, that, this summer, many of us received calls from allies who identify as different races. And it seemed as if we were being called upon to console the other.
Right.
And so I think that there's a very important distinction, and things happen out of ignorance, right? And lack of awareness.
Many times.
In offering that there is a way that you can offer solidarity and be an ally and let people know that you see and feel them without making it about you. And I think that what you just shared is a wonderful blueprint template, you know, for folks who often say, I would like to contact my friends, but I don't know what to say. And, you know, I don't want to come off as inauthentic. And I think the language that was shared, that you just shared, is really a great way to let people know, and which might be the one thing that you do, right? To let that you choose to do as your application this week, is to contact those in your circle to simply say, you know, I see you and I don't know what to say. And I certainly can't imagine exactly, because I'm not in your shoes, and yet I'm here. And if you should need, and whatever you need, let me know. And I think there are very few people who would not appreciate just that sentiment.
Yeah. You know, we do have a comment that says it's important for the community to share their pain, the Asian community to share their pain, and come out of the shadows. You know, I think that's interesting. It's you know, part of it is the you know, are they really in the shadows, right? Or is it just not getting you know, awareness? And so, and I don't know. You know, I don't know.
Well, we don't know, and we can think about, even, you know, we both identify as Black, so we can make these comments, and you and I have had these conversations, so we're not speaking for anyone else but the two of us.
Right.
That,
speaking for all
you
Black
know,
people, right?
you know, nobody can speak for all of anything, right? So we always say that's a baseline here at Sacred Space Sunday, right? You know, as some of these videos started coming up 5-6 years ago of police brutality in a Black neighborhood, and Black folks would say, well, no, this is, and it might have been perceived then, yes, we need to be more vocal, but those of us in the community knew that we had been vocal to the extent that we could be vocal, and that the things weren't new. It's just that now they were getting attention. And so, yes, I am grateful that we are in a climate that attention would be paid to this, that, you know, mainstream news and politicians are speaking up. But we know that this isn't new, and that they have been. And certainly, more people give voice, you give power to more people to give voice. But I had this conversation with another one of the women who actually spoke on that vigil last March. She told me that, you know, as you know, we were going into shutdown, that she was very concerned about her Asian American family members and community in New Jersey because of the violence and the racist remarks that they were experiencing then. And that was a year ago, March. But at that time, you know, mainstream media and no one was giving it publicity. But those voices have been outcrying for a long time.
I think that's what Cheryl was clarifying. They were in the shadows and right, because they were being kept in this, not because they weren't willing to speak up.
That's right.
Cheryl, so thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
I think that the number I heard, there's been 3,800 reported hate crimes since the pandemic started a year ago.
And we know reported always means a fraction of, because most crimes by anyone in a marginalized, oppressed group, the vast majority of them do not get reported because they don't get taken seriously because of who's in power.
Yeah, I mean, I know folks from all walks of life, and that in any of those walks of life, is it okay just to walk down the street and just hit an old person, or, you know, punch them hard as you can, or knock them to the ground as hard as you? I mean, that's just not in any walk of life. Do I know? And I know people from all walks of life. Not anywhere is that okay, right? Yeah. And so, just like the folks, the level of hatred that's out here, just, you know, and I don't think we can just depend on the government to do something about it, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, I think, God forbid, that I would be somewhere and see something like that happen, because I just don't see how people can be silent. You can't. How can I be on the train, somebody slice somebody's whole face open, and I just not say nothing, or stand on a corner, so 100 people stand on a corner, and you just see somebody knocked down and not say nothing? It's just,
which is why we had the talk today, right? Yeah. Am I my sibling's keeper? This is not just outrageous because it's outrageous. It is unethical. It is immoral. And there is a spiritual underpinning here. There is a call to action that has a spiritual basis. If we believe in oneness, and if we would look for attention for our marginalized groups, whether that be gendered, sexualized, racialized, based on ability, or being an immigrant, whatever it might be that would have you in a category that doesn't match with those that spew hate. If you would want someone to stand up for you, you must be willing to stand up for another.
Yeah. And I want to just highlight a comment that was made earlier at the beginning by one of our moderators. Noreen said she just found out she has a whole. I love it. I have a whole brother, and I don't take words lightly. I don't believe Noreen uses them lightly anyway. A whole brother as opposed to the opposite of whole, right? Or half or something less than whole. And yeah, and Noreen, I will say that I felt that way. I'm just speaking for me personally. In these last few weeks, as I've seen that, as these infractions, these violations, have come out of the shadows into my awareness around my Asian Pacific Americans, right, and brothers and sisters, which I think some of it was just ignorance, meaning a non-awareness of it. And I really do feel, and I started to look at other things in terms of the history and, what their plight has been here in America. And I'm like, wow, I mean, that ain't right either. I mean, it ain't right what they did to us, and that ain't right what they did to them. And so, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
and that's what oppressors do. They divide, right? They divide. And as long as, the marginalized, the oppressed are fighting with each other and really reproducing the same thing that's been done to them, pointing fingers, separating, treating as other, then we can't collectively come together under that, which is the common, I want to find another word, but I can't, the common enemy, right? So enemy meaning, that which is designed to bring you nothing but good. And
that is no friend of me.
Yeah. Right. And I'm talking about systems and structures here. And we understand the systems and structures are made up of individuals. And so all of that, right? All of that. And so white supremacy as an ideology has permeated this planet for quite some time and done harm for hundreds of years. And without a collective view of that reality and a collective mission to say no, right? To choose not to have that ideology of Cain, that I'm for self, I'm doing mine, and when called to it, I'm going to stand up and pretend that I'm here with the same love energy that Abel brings when that's not really where I'm at, and then get mad when you call me out on it, and then kill the thing that I'm going to say created me experiencing my less than and lack, until we break down that whole myth, right, and get behind it.
So I'd like to just ask again, for the audience, because I don't want to leave without really giving space for you to express. I mean, even we said this is Sacred Space Sunday. We will have a commitment to listen, right? Even if we have a different opinion, right? And so, but I mean, do you feel we have a responsibility to support the Asian community? Do you? I mean, what you've heard here, does it resonate with you? Does it you're not sure? You got mixed feelings? I mean, I just would want to. I'm just interested in hearing some other comments from some of the other listeners that are on. And kind of just where do you find yourself in this moment? It's not to embarrass or anything, but I think for us to share and maybe there's something that we can give each other in that sharing.
Yes, definitely. And so as we wait, for some comments to come in, Clarence says, I do think that we need to support them. Yeah, and Noreen, said so similarly. And, I was just blessed to be in a position where I am in a seminary that is diverse. And so I had the opportunity to attend a vigil and hear from the voices of the community, which not necessarily because, the relationships across differences are what they are. And again, people's level of comfort of knowing how to enter in and be supportive, and what does that look like, and what do I say, what do I do, what should I not do, these things that come up all the time when we're engaging across differences, may not have that opportunity, which is why we wanted to share it here, which is really, I think worth remarking, the reason for the Niyah Center, the reason for Sacred Space Sunday, the reason why our values start with oneness, to be a space to connect across differences, because we know those differences, although relevant and real in one sense, that there is something beneath those differences that connects us all, that I personally believe, is more important than those.
So DJ C Sharp says, he does think we need to support them, although they haven't always been supportive of other communities.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think it continues, and yes, but needs to be reciprocated. And so there is some agreeing to those communities will create a bridge of support for one another. Right. And then adding on to that, great conversation allows for the opportunity to show support in the same and different ways in which we would like to be supported. So I just wanted to read those together, Nick, because I think there's a theme. But so go ahead. I know I cut you off. Go ahead. What was your comment?
Yeah, thank you, Clarence, for raising that, and for all others, Cheryl and Monty, for also your comments. And I think that's so. And, if you hear from those who have been speaking on the behalf of the Asian community, they have spoken to that as well, right? That there is a history. There's a history in certain urban communities and certain retail environments, those who identify as the Asian community and those who might identify as the Black community have been at odds. And, that has ended in its own violence and just bad things happening. And so that history is there as well. And so it's not about stepping apart from that history. It's about the choices that we make going forward. And I believe that hate only breeds more hate.
Yeah.
And so reacting to what someone has done wrong will not turn the corner and have it be different. And so we have an opportunity right now to say, let's choose differently. And since we can only be responsible for ourselves, we can lead and model. And how others respond is a question. I mean, it is a historical fact that the civil rights movement led by Blacks in the United States has paved the path for all other minority by numbered, underrepresented, non-white communities in the US. That is just a historical fact, right? And that has not always been recognized and appreciated by those communities. But I think as white supremacy, something that you never heard that term ever used in mainstream media and in common discourse, now is even something that you can say, that this is an opportunity for communities to come together in a way that they never have before. But we must be active and intentional about it, or else it will continue to be the same, us fighting one another.
I mean, and that's what Latanya brings up in her comment. I left it up because it's a little long for those to see it that are on a different platform. We definitely need to support the Asian. When we say them, for those who just joined us, we're talking about the Asian American community and injustice everywhere. The oppressors want to divide the oppressed. Think about what would happen if all of the oppressed denounced and disconnected from the oppressors. Think about what would happen to America if the oppressed mounted up and boycotted and stopped supporting the silent oppressors. Wouldn't America truly be great then? America changes his behavior when his dollars are impacted. All
Yes.
right. So yes, Tiny.
Yes.
Great questions. And, and I mean, to your point, we saw on January 6th, the number of folks that came together, they didn't all have come from the same economic background or from the same denomination. I think I seen the leader of the Proud Boys. He looks like he's a minority in himself, of some. He definitely got a lot of color in him. Then you had those other groups, whatever they were, but they did come together under a common cause, right? Not that they all shared the same exact beliefs, but they did have a common cause, and they were willing to use their voice to say so. And so, absolutely, it's an opportunity. And what we've learned, if those maybe have seen Judas and the Messiah, which is a story about Fred Hampton, chairman of the board, Fred Hampton, and his murder was, his assassination was that what he was doing was exactly that, bringing the oppressed together across all the different groups that represented the oppressed. And see, I'd never heard that story before. I'm from Chicago, and my parents were part of Black River, and I never knew that's what he was doing. Was not only were they doing, I knew they were doing the things like the feeding programs in the community and making sure kids had lunch and they could get to school safely and those kind of things. Had no idea he was bringing together all these different groups of oppressed people together in support of these same ideologies. And so, yes, it's an opportunity. And I think a call forward to say, so if the thought of I can't corral a whole community is too great, back to your example, Nate, what's the one sheep? What's one sheep that I can go get? Can I go get one?
What's the one thing I can do? And so that, not asking anyone to to overnight change the world, or not that, I mean, certainly that may be yours to do, right? And one voice certainly can and has in history, and yet that's not the application that we're putting out for everyone today. But it is to think about what's one thing that I could do. Mark and I talked about noticing. We noticed many months ago, really shortly after we moved here to Maryland for this pandemic period, that one of the restaurants, two of the Asian restaurants in our neighborhood, were closing really early. They seemed like they weren't getting, much traffic, and it seemed unusual. And we actually didn't understand it. And because we just didn't believe that people were falling prey to this rhetoric so much that folks were no longer going to Asian establishments. It just didn't connect to us because it didn't resonate for us, but clearly it resonated for a lot of other people. And I didn't know that, they talk about, again, back to the social dilemma, right? Where they explain to you, that they put stuff in your feed that speak to your biases, right? And, not to get into my diversity, equity, and inclusion, but, bias is really just anything that you believe and hold as dear and true. And so biases can be for and against. Right. And so whatever those biases are, but for those who's had bias against Asians, they would get things that remind them. So, some of the things that they were saying, tying in COVID-19 with food sold by people of, Asian identification, just ridiculousness. So, what it might mean is that should you like food from your Asian establishment in your neighborhood, that you order it and put some dollars in their pocket.
Right.
And so that's support, right? That's real support. LaTanya just said that, right? Where your dollars are. And so, again, my friend who talked to me about last March, that not unlike, poor people of all identities across this country. Like we said, that's why we promote the Poor People's Campaign so much, because there's more poor people in this country than anything else in terms of identification. There's more poor people. And so not unlike other poor communities, the Asian American community, when the shutdown came, a lot of these folks were, I go to work, I make some money, I get paid in cash, and that's how I eat dinner. And so when those establishments closed and that money stopped coming in, where does the food come from? Right? So again, when we think about our humanity, our oneness, and stop focusing on identity, I think that there's an opportunity for compassion to come forward. Because in this day, we can show up as Cain and kill people a lot of different ways without actually cutting their throat. We can kill them with our words. We can kill them with our attitudes. We can kill them with our dollars. And, you know, it's one thing, as LaTanya suggested, to intentionally boycott something. And boycotting, you know, from where's the intention, right? Are you boycotting because they're doing something you don't stand for? Or are you boycotting because you think you can get COVID-19 from eating their food?
Yeah. So very provocative topic today, right? That was a word for the day, right? Nate, thank you for sharing unadulterated. And so, you know, I'm gonna take that, you know, folks are being with this information. You know, we've gotten different comments. It's an opportunity just to without judgment, right? This is judgment free. To without judgment, just to simply say it. Is there something that I can do? Am I doing what I can do? Right.
Which is why it's a question.
Right.
Am I my sibling's keeper? And if so, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And because we're all about, you know, action in addition to insight, if so, and then if not, if the answer is no, then what flows from that?
Yeah.
And if that's your truth, then you know that, and then you know what flows from that. And so then certain things don't surprise you.
Right.
Because if you're not your brother's keeper, your sibling's keeper, then they are not yours.
All right. Well, Neonu, you mind closing us in prayer today? I think that, you know, the Spirit has just been with you, and I know, baby, and so I'm just going to say yes. You know, before we close, we want to take an opportunity for folks to put in names of anybody that's on your mind. Blessings of oneness, love, and joy. And I was really messing with you. I don't mind closing us in prayer. I sometimes I don't know why I like messing with her. I know she doesn't know why I like messing with her either. She gets look, she tries to hide it. But really, at the end of the day, we really want to create a space to send out some vibrations of love, healing, joy. Somebody, you know, that may be going through can use a kind word, you know, a warm feeling, a spiritual hug, whatever it is. If there's a person that comes to your mind, just put their name in the chat. Put their name in the chat.
So in closing today, again, I just ask you to just come back to your breath. Something about this conversation today may have had you lose your breath.
Greg Hunt, we see Greg Hunt in the name. Thank you.
And we don't want to ever lose track of this breath that fulfills us, that grounds us.
Yeah, Angela.
So we just give thanks for this time together. We give thanks for all of the blessings that are flowing. And we just speak the words oneness, love, joy. And I send the energy of oneness, love, and joy to everyone who is listening now, everyone who's listened to us throughout this Sacred Space Sunday, everyone who's ever listened to us, everyone in this community where I reside, everyone in this state, everyone in all these United States, as we are knowing that they are uniting more and more in the favor of love, in the favor of justice, in the favor of upliftment, in the favor of healing, of peace, of humanity. And I send this love energy around the globe, around the earth, to every village, every town, every home, every ranch, every tent, every cot, every corner. Seeing, feeling, and giving gratitude for that which connects us, for the grace of God that shows up in so many forms, the beautiful way that the manifester manifests locally for communities in a way that serves. So we give gratitude for this. Thanks for this time, and send blessings to all for a beautiful, safe week. May we all be happy. May we all be free from worry. May we all have peace. May we all be liberated from suffering. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. Namaste. Amen. All our siblings.
And so it is.
All our siblings. Well, thank you, family. As always, sometimes we have topics that are tough.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't share together here around those things that may be uncomfortable to talk about, then where can we share?
Yeah.
Where can we share? So we are in gratitude that you have spent this time sharing with us. We love you. We appreciate you. And,
I think I want to play the video. We'll come off YouTube so they don't mess the whole thing up for YouTube and Facebook.
so we're going to the after space. Is that what you're saying? So we want to give people a moment to get there if they want to join us.
Yeah, everybody on right now looks like they're coming on from Twitch. So
okay, awesome.
Let me just
We are literally making the switch to Twitch.